we say, what does it mean to be actually getting on the digital bandwagon, right? We say, yes, digital will take us ahead, digital will give us that mileage, but how do we actually do it, right? So start off with that. We will have our first fireside chat with some very eminent speakers you might have heard and known about in the media. So the first panelist, if I can invite on the stage, is Mr. Sanjeev Kumar Gupta. He's none other than the CEO of Karnataka Digital Economy Mission. Mr. Gupta, please. With him on the fireside chat, we have Mr. Saurabh Bhattacharya. He is Additional Director of the Center of Smart Governance, Government of Karnataka. Mr. Saurabh. And moderating the panel is Mr. Chandra. He is co-founder of India Blockchain Forum.
Good afternoon, everyone. So without wasting any time, let me start the conversation again. And so before, in fact, I was discussing with some of my peers and I was quoting some numbers from Union Finance Minister's recent speech yesterday, where she talked about how in the last 8 years, we have leapfrogged to the 5th largest world economy, where other developing countries are contracting. India is emerging as a beacon of hope, and a lot has been contributed towards digital economy. And yesterday, even Rajiv Chandrasekhar said that by 2026, 20% of India's GDP will be driven by digital economy. So this kind of sets the context for today's conversation, where we have Sanjeev sir and Saurabh. So Sanjeev sir, I would like to start with you and try and understand your perspective on how do you see the Karnataka's digital and startup landscape progressing, and what are the challenges startups and entrepreneurs face?
Very good afternoon. Thank you so much, PEN IT organization, for inviting us and sharing us the information about, and maybe asking us to interact with the people here. First of all, thank you for the previous panel speakers. All of them praising Karnataka and Bangalore. I'm so happy about it. Thank you so much. So ladies and gentlemen, once a clap for the previous panel speakers. Lovely talking about Bangalore. On the digital economy side, our Honorable Prime Minister has talked about a $1 trillion digital economy. And that's what the minister was talking about day for yesterday. Ladies and gentlemen, 200 and let's say around, I would say $1 trillion digital economy that we are aiming for. Any guess that how much is contributed by Karnataka today? 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, $120 billion today. One of the largest among all the states. We are looking at to contribute a $300 million going forward on $1 trillion. One state, 1/3 of it. Can we do it? Answer is yes. And if we do that, where are we on the GDP contribution? So the question to you is that the Karnataka is thinking of in that dimension. How do we make this statement? Because today we are 120, can we come out to $300 billion? Answer is yes. And the reason is that the three important aspects of digital economy, which is how do you grow startup and tech field? How do you make sure that your electronic system design manufacturing is growing in the state, in the country? And third is, how do you make sure that IT, ITS and GCCs companies grow up here in Karnataka? All these three clubbed together makes a digital economy. And the element of success, why $120 billion today? Today we are contributing to state GDP somewhere around 28 to 30% of the state GDP comes from digital economy. We're looking at if it goes to $300 billion, it will go up to 40, 45% maybe. Now, and that numbers is a very big number for any state to look at a digital economy contribution. And only one last part for success is how we can say so confident is the talent and the ecosystem of the state of Karnataka. It's the secret sauce of the way that we function, that we attract investments, the startups, and anything else in the innovations.
Thank you, sir. So now it's widely or often accepted that government has a bigger role to play when it comes to creating enabling environment for startups and economy to prosper. And government can be ideally said that it's one of the kinetic enablers in the space. So coming back to Saurabh, and your work at Center for Smart Governance, there's some pioneering work your department has done, especially in the case of land records. But with respect to government services and government to citizen services, how your department is using digital technologies to make services accessible to all. If you can share some light on that.
I think it's very imperative to understand that any digital economy would require the government which leads the nation to be digitally suave and efficient. Now, for a government to become digitally suave or efficient, I think there are certain imperatives which we have, which we should implement. And the government of India, government of Karnataka has done credible amount of job into that. And some of those initiatives are something which is very well known when we talk about Aadhaar. If we say a digital identity, I think we are making a strong point that we have created a digital identity system through which we will be able to recognize and deliver services also. One of the challenge when we were architecting software was that how do you digitally recognize an individual? And when you start digitally recognizing an individual, that is the time you know that you will be able to deliver services also digitally online without requiring them to come to you or to the government. Now, what we did in Karnataka, we took Aadhaar a step forward, and I will talk about 3 key initiatives which the government undertook, and it's very interesting, and I'll also have some analogies to share how it actually impacted. Now, the first initiative which we did in Karnataka was digitize the treasury operations. Now, it's easy to say that we have Oracle treasury management suites and other suites, and why don't we use that? But government treasury is a little different. We work, fortunately or unfortunately, in a manner which is quite at least years behind the way the corporate works. The processes, the procedures are quite different from the way the corporate works. Now what we did is that we created a digital financial management, treasury management system, and there's nothing new, other states also did that, but we went one step ahead. We created the first of its kind payment gateway which would ensure that the money lands up inside a treasury. So government doesn't, unlike a corporate or a private organization, we don't use banks to manage our finances. We use treasuries to manage, and that was one big question which we had in our mind. How do you put money inside it? In a post 216 era, when this entire thing came up, pre 216 era, there was only one place where you could actually deposit your taxes in Bangalore, and that was in Shivaji Nagar State Bank of Mysore branch. That also up to 230 through cash. Now think of the entire city going there. So if you have to pay your RTO money, you have to pay your, that time we had VAT money or excise duties, corporates, individuals, everybody who is supposed to pay has to go there and pay that, and then he gets his clearance. So, from a distillery, if a truck has to leave, he has to go and first pay there, prepare a challan, go and show there, and then the truck will leave from a distillery. Or for that matter, any VAT payment will happen. So you can understand what type of challenges which we had. And today, thanks to the gateways which we have created, every payments which you do to government are online. So recently we launched the property registration system in Karnataka. It's July, June we launched it, and the government of Karnataka increased the that market that values from valuation rates were increased from 1st of October. Now there was hordes of people who wanted to register before that. Usually we have around 10,000, 8,000 to 10,000 registrations a day. On 26th and 27th of September, we had 27,000 transactions online. 500 plus crore per day collected online. And that was something I think which happened because of that. Second initiative, which is another thing which, although it's not unique for Karnataka, but the way we have implemented is little unique. It's called Kutumbha. It's a, I would say, a rip-off of something which was done by Rajasthan called Bhamasha. We created a database of citizens and their families. Now, every detail of that how many kids that family, children that family has, how many women members are there, who heads that, it's a women or men, they pay taxes or not, all details were there. And thanks to this database, when the government started this guarantee scheme, they decided to start it around July, the Grihalakshmi Yojana. Any such scheme to be started prior to this digital ecosystem which was built would have taken almost a year or so to start, because to recognize the beneficiary, you have to advertise. The person will come to your place, to the offices. He will stand in queue. They have to prove that they are female. They have to, sorry, that to anyway they can prove, but you have to prove that you are eligible. And the eligibility is that you are the head of the family. You don't pay taxes. All those conditions were there, and then you have to give your bank account details. That has to be verified whether it is owned by you or it is owned by your husband or someone. All these challenges were there. Thanks to Aadhaar enabled payment services and Kutumba, within 15 days we started this service. Now, by the time the decision was made by the cabinet, we knew that there are 1.5 crore beneficiaries, because the database told us clearly these are the number of people headed by female members. This is the size of it. These are the bank account details. And 1.2, we had full clarity that they don't pay income tax also. So that is the type of initiatives which government has taken, because of which I would say is we are able to promote a digital economy.
Thanks, Saurabh. I will come back to the point about collaboration opportunity for startups and what's the roadmap which Center for Smart Governance has. But before that, let me come to Sanjeev sir and get his views on. So there's a broader shift towards consumption from, so we as a nation have been consumption of tech products and services from the West, but that has pivoted, that has changed, and now we have become producer of tech stacks, or digital public infrastructure is getting exported. So there's a wider push on creating products and services within the country. So sir, what's the key focus area? What are some of the key focus areas as KDEM, especially in terms of software products, GCCs, and taking startup entrepreneurship beyond Bangalore?
Lovely. Thank you. I think it's a very important question, because we're shifting the gear completely from one orbit to the second orbit. Friends, out of 90,000 startups that country has registered in India, 22,000 plus are in Karnataka. $165 billion has been raised by the startups in last 5 to 7 years. $65 billion is raised by the Karnataka-based startups. Elevate program, which Government of Karnataka runs, is to give a grant up to rupees 50 lakh to a startup to convert their idea into a POC. 30% of those comes from beyond Bangalore, Mysore, Mangalore, Udupi, Hubli, Belgaum. And 30% of that in total number comes from a woman entrepreneur. A gentleman talking to me was saying that if a new entrant comes to Bangalore on Monday, and by Friday, he knows everybody in the ecosystem, who's who, where to go, whom to meet. That's the power of Bangalore. The power of people around us. It has created that magnet. What top of this has happened is the GCCs. Fortune 500 companies of the world, 400 plus, have their R&D and innovation center in Bangalore, in Karnataka. Out of Fortune 500, 400 plus. Second state or anybody says, I'm not comparing that. In fact, somebody talk about and saying, Bangalore is the Silicon Valley of East. Recently, the term used, and I think you will definitely like it, is that we should call ourselves as Silicon Valley. Forget about Valley. And then let the San Francisco say that I am the Silicon Valley of West. So that is the way that our aggression is, the way that our mission is. Look, how do we reach that all these into the next level of orbit? By creating certain products and center of excellence on those. So what we started looking at, the new tech which is coming up. Let's say if financial capital is Mumbai, let the fintech capital be Bangalore or Karnataka. You create cash, we'll manage the cash on the tech. And that's how we will do the part of it. 10 unicorns in the fintech were born out of Bangalore. Not out of Mumbai or Delhi or Gurgaon, but born out of here. So we have that capital. Can we have a center of excellence on fintech? Can we have a center of excellence on metaverse? Can we have a center of excellence on AI? Can we have a center of excellence on cybersecurity? We're shifting this orbit for this. Just to let you know, we set up a center of excellence of cybersecurity in Mysore. 6 companies of product development, one from Pune and Mumbai, shifted to Mysore. Because the power of that product, the power of the community, the power of the ecosystem was available at that location. COE in FinTech in Mangalore. You know the Mangalore story, right? Out of 8 public sector banks of the country, they were born where? In Mangalore. Genetically, Mangalore has that FinTech in it, or a finance in it, or a banking in it. So we're promoting the Center of Excellence in FinTech there in Mangalore. In Hubli, you will be amazed to know, today we have more than 6,000 resources working on AI in Hubli. Kabhi socha aapne aisa? We have this, we talk about this. 70,000 AI resources in Karnataka, second largest in the world. These are the powers that we have. So now, the GCCs which has come here, our R&D innovation centers, they started a very long time journey only just having a support system here. Today, all of their products and new designs of developments happen here in Bangalore. The Boeing is a recent example. They set up the world largest R&D innovation center in Karnataka in Bangalore. Only R&D center, no support systems. Let support system go to somewhere else in Hyderabad or Chennai, doesn't matter. Our target is what? Can we ask them to register IP here? And if that can happen, just say Amen with me. We will be the largest IP producer of the world then. Because all these IPs which is created and registered in US and Europe is actually manufactured or designed here itself in Karnataka, in Bangalore. So our motto is that. Then the comeback is the startups community which is coming up in these center of excellence. They are getting all the tools and technologies, ecosystem of industry. And then we are trying to design a program called as Beyond Bangalore, creating more Bangalores outside Bangalore. And recently, our ministers also talk about of democratization of entrepreneurship. And I'll talk this later with you on this topic. But this is the one area where we're shifting the gear of orbit from just mere support and IT services to a product development. We in the Bangalore Tech Summit, just 1 minute more. In a Bangalore Tech Summit, we did a Chandrayaan show. I don't know whether anybody have attended the BTS? If you have, please raise your hand. If you've gone there, you will see a Chandrayaan show. All the companies who developed their product, which was used in the Chandrayaan, were showing there. And ladies and gentlemen, that was the most attended pavilion in the BTS, which is the Asia's largest tech event. All these products are coming out from here. And we see space technology, aerospace, defense, medtech, energy. The products are designed. The last example is your entire EV that you think about, and the drone that you think about is, most of the products of 90% product is designed here in Karnataka. They might be manufactured somewhere else.
Great insights, sir. And I think we have one of the best or vibrant startup ecosystems in the country. And hopefully we should be able to maybe evangelize the term Silicon Valley much more. Right. Now coming back to Saurabh, as Center for Smart Governance, what's your outlook on startup engagement? What do you think are some of the areas and how startups can engage with this body? And what's your take on hackathons, acceleration with respect to using digital technologies in governance?
I just like to use one small quote. If startups are artists, then government is the canvas where you have to do your work. So you cannot get a better platform than government to solve your problems. Now, we had a problem recently. The government started the Shakti Yojana, where what it meant is that when you board a bus, you have to, means if you are a female above 6 years of age, domicile of Karnataka, then you will be given a free transport facility. Now, challenge is that these state transport undertakings like KSRTC or BMTC, how do they prove to the government that these many number of folks, women members had boarded, commuters had boarded, and that this is the amount due which you have to pay. This is the distance they traveled. Now, government, what it is using is that the old statistics that this is the last, maybe around before the Shakti Yojana was implemented, May or June, this is the number of female commuters you had transported, so this is the amount of money which we'll give. But after Shakti, this has doubled. In fact, it's actually more than two times of the traffic which we used to see. So the question is detecting the person who is boarding the bus as female, detecting that this member has got down at this area is just one of the use case I'm talking of. We don't have a solution, but we know that there are platforms, there are technologies, and there are such certain talents who can make that happen, can help us understand that. Similarly, we have large problems when it comes to land. Now we don't have, there's a huge database of properties which we have, but all of them are in paper or in some sort of a or semi-digitized form. We have to bring it on maps. We have to digitize and we have to take them on maps. This is another problem statement. Now, like that, there are numerous problem statements which you will find, and there are some challenges, real life challenges, which has to be addressed. Now, one of the biggest challenge which we are now facing is impersonation. Somebody coming and selling someone else's property in his or her name. Unfortunately, property is not linked to any type of digital identification systems like Aadhaar. It is based on your name. So if I am Saurabh Bhattacharya, somebody can claim themselves as Saurabh Bhattacharya and sell my property. Now, how do I solve that problem of impersonation? That's another challenge which is coming up now. So there are multiple challenges which we see, which is government or the domain which we deal with has, and we need ideas, we need young talents to come in and help us solve that. I think that is the most important place for convergence between tech-driven startups and government.
Thanks, Saurabh. And I think the startups who are listening to this, I mean, they can reach out to us, the KD, when I say us, the Karnataka Digital Economy Mission, and as a bridge between government and industry, I mean, we should be happy to help them out. Now, coming back to you, sir, the concept of democratization of entrepreneurship, this is a very interesting term. Can you help us simplify that?
Yeah, I think whosoever has a thought of becoming an entrepreneur, irrespective of where they come from, economic class, region, any gender, that doesn't matter. It's a right for the person to become an entrepreneur. But unfortunately, for the last so many number of years, the focus of the ecosystem has been towards Bangalore, or let's say Chennai or Hyderabad or Delhi NCR. How can we now create a model which can say that a flourishing environment and ecosystem is available everywhere where the entrepreneur is there? So what we try to do is to say, how do we create an ecosystem in, let's say, Mysore or a Mangalore? How do we create that? So the ecosystem depends upon what? The ecosystem depends upon, let the students come out with a lot of ideas first, right? A lot of ideas should come up. So that's one segment of it. How do you infuse that thought process into the mind? And also concepts of entrepreneurship. The second one is, how do you convert that thought process and ideas into actually a product? Then third one is, if you even create that, how do you create access to the capital for them? They have to still rush to some other place. How do you create a mentorship or an incubation center or an accelerator at that location which can be done? Can we create as many as them? We can't. We need to provide some model onto this. The last is, how do you create an institution and a market access for them? How do we create that industry linkages with those entrepreneurs? All these 6-7 pillars of the entrepreneurship journey needs to be now strengthened there. And you have to not forget that a very good petrol pump owner in a city could also be an angel investor. A very good showroom of a brands, they can also become an angel investors. HNIs of the region can become a further coming up as an angel investor. How do you bring that audience into an ecosystem where they can become mature enough or smart enough to understand how the investment should happen? These all 7-8 pillars, friends, becomes the democratization of entrepreneurship. And I'm very fortunate to share with you, this thought process was shared by us in Karnataka and has been now accepted by Niti Aayog itself. They're saying that let's start this model into some other states, and all the state level heads of the startup ecosystem were here in Karnataka. All of the states across the country, 3 days. And they looked into all the center of excellence as us and understand the concepts from us. What I'm trying to say is, first time in India, Karnataka is setting up a cluster seed fund. A 25 crore fund for Mysore, only for Mysore-based entrepreneurs. 25 crores fund for Mangalore, and 25 crore fund for Hubli, Belgaum, Dharwad. Karnataka Accelerator Network. That means if I am incubation centers we call us K-Tech incubation centers, engineering college has incubation centers, private incubation centers are there in different cities, but there's no accelerator. If I have business, I have to rush to Bangalore to get understanding how to mentor scale the business. So Karnataka Accelerator Network has been set up where 3 mature accelerators of Bangalore and 1 each in these locations of the clusters can become a network. And government funds the cohort to run this model into this, so that the Mysore base or Mangalore base, they mature by themselves. And in the cluster seed fund, we are also trying to bring the HNIs to contribute on this. So we're asking HNIs to participate in that so that they become a mature investor slowly. So all these I can go on talking about it, but these are the areas where we are working on. Last is to create an institution at the level of clusters. So what an institution is? Institution is not about government department, right? Institution is by itself as an institution who is working for it. Examples like TIE. Can we have a TIE chapter there who becomes the one important element to infuse the entrepreneurship of all ecosystem there in that region? Fortunately, Karnataka is the only state where we have 4 chapters of the TIE in every of the cluster that I'm talking about. That's the way that we are trying to push together institution. And government, both ways. One, inside the government, where Saurabh was talking about doing fantastic work, looking at the technology that's to be infused. Outside the government domain, we are partnering with an industry to create these ecosystems of entrepreneurship. If you say that 45% of the unicorns came from here, am I confident about the number of unicorns to come in future? You can ask this question. ठीक है, आपकी किस्मत अच्छी थी, पहले वाले में अच्छे लोग आ गए आपके पास, right? But dear friends, equal number of Sonicans are also there, soon to become unicorns. My pipeline is strong. And after that, my Elevate winners are there. 10 years down the line, you will definitely find Karnataka the Silicon Valley of the world. That's it.
Thank you, sir. So we have a couple of minutes left. So we can maybe open this up for questions. If anyone has any question, yeah, please.
My question to the forum is, as you told that Silicon Valley or San Francisco Valley in Bangalore or Karnataka in Hubli, Mysore and all, why an indigenous 5G technology is not developed by Karnataka? See, Reliance has launched 5G and it has got indigenous and it has lot of problems in layer 1 protocol and all these things. Why we are still not able to develop our own indigenous 5G ecosystem? And see, if we still depend on Nokia, Ericsson and Samsung and all this stuff.
I'm not so educated in the 5G or 6G technological understanding, but from a very high level, I can say that if you come to one of the institutions in Hubli and in Belgaum, you will find a startup working on telecom, especially in 5G. I'll introduce you. What I hear from, as far as I'm known, is that there are indigenous companies based out of Chennai, based out of Mumbai. They are actually doing a fantastic work on 5Gs. And our central government minister, Mr. Ashwini ji, has actually, I've seen some of the videos. I'm just talking about from what I read it. I have not seen myself. But what I read it, there are companies who are working on 5Gs and 6Gs. I don't think so that we are going to be dependent upon any of them. But at least from my beyond Bangalore cluster perspective, most welcome. Come along, I will introduce you to a couple of them.
To add to your point, sir, so even if you look at in the case of generative AI, some of the large language models are being developed in India. A great example is the company called Kritam AI, started by Ola founder, right? So we are getting there yet, and that's, as sir rightly said, we need to build the right IP ecosystem in the country, and with the right leadership of the state, we should be able to get there. So with this, I would like to end this conversation today, and I would like to thank Sanjeev sir and Saurabh for sharing the insights. Thank you, everyone.